Are deck gunners any good? This is not going to be anything approaching an easy question. A lot of people hate them with a passion, and find them massively underwhelming. Well, we have equivalents to compare to, Warplock Jezzails and Crane Gunners. Let's take a good look and see if deck gunners can sweep the other guy's decks clean of troops, or if they're better off with mop duty on your end. Please like, subscribe, comment, and consider donating gold to my hidden Ko-Fi Cove. Of course, it's not really hidden. The link is right there on screen and in the description. Moving on. Coming in at 36 models in Ultra, deck gunners cost 700 to recruit in campaign for 175 upkeep. Now, that is more than handgun and hand cannon variants, but it's not that much higher. Having said that, this is a tier 4 unit from the Munitions Hut or Bombard line, that is the artillery line that unlocks army ability bombardments too. Health is 3,888 across the unit, with 108 health per entity. I mention this because if you hit them with a spell that inflicts 50 damage per entity, you'll damage, but you'll still see 36 mauls kicking with 58 health left each. It's in melee that these two zombie teams are truly hopeless, with 15 armor, leadership 40, which is a little higher than usual, speed 23, melee attack 5, melee defense 10, charge bonus of 1. 1! Mass is 150 for the two-man teams, probably the weight of the guns as much as anything. So yes, any kind of real cavalry charge that connects, kiss them goodbye. Even more than your regular missile infantry mobs. Now, ranged, because that's where the good stuff is. Ammunition begins at 22 volleys base. Range is 245, which is far, far longer than the handguns, unless they're really heavily buffed. And not as radical a difference if they're really heavily buffed, but here's something to keep in mind. Deck gunners may be recruited from the artillery chain, but they are considered missile infantry. Anything that buffs handgun or hand cannon range buffs them too. It's a big deal. Missile damage is listed as 43, but let's set that aside. Each projectile carries the Shield Breaker attribute, reducing missile block chance by 24% for 10 seconds or until another shot hits, whichever comes first. This means efficiency against shielded infantry and cavalry rockets up. Also, there is some penetration for infantry formations. Missile base damage is 8 per shot with 13.9 armor piercing. These are musket-style shots with a flat-ish trajectory. Reload time is 11, which I note because it's actually a lot better than a lot of your units, but most of those either have more models, much more models, or are honest to Manan artillery. Total accuracy begins at the standard 20. Calibration area is 145, which seems a lot shorter than their max range is. It's max handgun range. Calibration area, considering, mind you, these are dead marksmen, literally dead people, is 1.8, owing to the inherent accuracy of the guns. Let's bring up the competition, shall we? Deck gunners have substantially lower cost, but have zero, I repeat, zero shields. So between shields and armor and even health and stuff, the competition has them solidly beaten. Health per entity is much higher. I note that 36 entities is versus 32 for the other two units. Speed is also substantially lower. For ranged combat, ammo is the same, but actual firing range took a serious hit. Like with the handguns, and I note the pirate version actually has more damage per shot even normally, but eats worms when it comes to calibration distance a little and calibration area a lot. 1.8 meters didn't seem that bad, but 0.6 is so much better it's crazy. Of course, the Crane Gunners get yin bonuses, Skaven get a lot of boosts, and the Vampire Coast gets extra powder, which gets used up more quickly due to the reload time being less awful than with other units. Of course, a Gunnery White helps crank up accuracy and reload skill, and I highly recommend them for all range-using Vampire Coast builds, which should be, most of them. Now here's the thing going forward. Decked Gunners pop up in weird places. In the Lord Redline skills, Reanimated Marksman, and not Black Powder Overload, grants a maximum of plus 18% ammunition, which deck gunners shoot through faster, and plus 8% missile strength. Ensorcelled Weapons gives hardened rank 7 pirate scum plus 12 armor, a relatively huge boost, plus 12% missile strength, awesome, and 15% spell resistance, which is handy. Now the tech tree weirdness. Maintained Cannons adds plus 10% missile strength for deck gunners along with true artillery units. Clean Your Bores reduces upkeep by 15% just like mortars. Magazine adds plus 20% ammunition. Trained Gun Hands raises recruit rank by plus 2. You might get events that raise infantry recruit rank at a cost, so that would also instantly let you crank out very high-end deck gunners. So even though the red line treats them like missile infantry, the tech tree treats them as artillery. So then, how do you use deck gunners? Here's where much of the controversy arises, of course. Having such long range, the flat trajectories mean that any elevation blocking your attacks will feel extra bad to you and enrage and infuriate. Also, while relatively hyper-accurate against single entity monsters and so on, their raw power may not feel like it's satisfying, since live handgun units are easier to pack into a rectangle and use it as a "you die now" button for YOLOing lords. You also need, at minimum, holes poked in your front line firewall to get deck gunners to do their thing. 36 entities versus 120 in an undamaged handgunner unit seems like a huge difference in damage, and hey, it is. The thing is, deck gunners, once you learn how to overcome their weaknesses, tend to be consistent, and rather than just getting the damage high, they tend to savage, pack formations, and produce kills for you. The inherent accuracy is part of the deal. Moreover, you're doing full damage at maximum ranges, you're just less accurate. You can work with that. Often when playing Coast, you have lots of ways to damage clumps of opponents without being able to finish them off. Deck gunners, by the standards of the faction, are scalpels. Risky due to vulnerability, sure, but also really good at putting the hurt where you need it most. You can't be outranged by Sisters or Shadow Warriors. You just need to see them, and preferably not have a forest in the way. Or a hill. That would be bad. Overall, I'd say this is the kind of unit that you'll never appreciate as a single unit on the battlefield. I'm not saying you need 10, but 3, 4? You won't feel the impact unless you have a few and can keep a fight at a long enough range that other units aren't better. You also need short-range punch, which is why hand cannons in the mix can work for you. Either way, you build a range advantage, but if you don't use it, you are wasting it. I've said before that mortars aren't much good at finishing units off, let alone carronades, but deck gunners kind of are. You'll lose some if the enemy goes all out, that's inevitable, but if you focus on the right targets, you will find that this is your field surgeon's scalpel, not your animated Hulk's bludgeon. There is a place for the scalpel. Bottom line, you can't spam crane gunners or Giselles easily because of cost. You kind of can spam deck gunners. Something to consider. Take care, and have fun sweeping the other guy's decks clean.